It's fourth year Alan's yahrzeit, and last night was a great way to remember him and think about him, his yahrzeit. And I don't know if it was recorded or not, but I thought I'd just say what I said last night, just say it quickly, or maybe not quickly, just not to ramble on. I got some comments that it was good. Someone said it rambled on a bit, which is fine. Well, not really fine, but the Sfas Emes brings down a medrash that Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov got something positive. Abraham got old, Yitzchak got Yisurin, pain and troubles, and Yaakov became sick. What does that mean? So the Medrash goes on and says that people didn't know who to respect and who to give kavod to. If everyone looked the same or everyone looked young. So Hashem made Abraham look old. Yitzchak got Yisurin. Yitzchak lived his life fearful about Yom Hadin, what's going to happen afterwards. And to ease the pain and the questions, Hashem gives Yitzchak suffering in this world, so next world he would rest easy in the next world. And Yaakov becomes choleh, because if you're not choleh and just die suddenly, you're not really sure of when to tell over to your children and your friends, when to speak seriously, give musar to them, life lessons, things like that. So these three things were given to the avos, and it's a way to always think of, people can go at any moment. Also to embrace Yisurin. Yitzchak was blind most of his life and had trouble with his sons. And people have Yisurin, people have pains. I hurt my back recently, and we give things to kind of remind ourselves that we're not perfect, we're not here forever. Also to remind ourselves that we can work on ourselves, prove ourselves, and to think about the next world. Think about the next world, that if we have anything in this world that goes bad and is painful, it's supposed to make up and make the next world a little bit easier for us in judgment. Some of these lessons that I kind of think about when we talk about Alan is exactly that. Alan was, knew when to have fun, knew when to be serious. He was very sincere. And one thing that Alan did was always think about other people and helping with their issues professionally, personally, and it didn't really matter who the person was, whether it was someone who wasn't Jewish, someone who wasn't white. So it didn't really matter. He had so many friends from all across the spectrum, really, and it didn't really matter. He had time for anybody. He really gave you some smart ideas and smart advice, which he gave to me several times, and that was pretty important. To be a good person, to be a good citizen of the world, and to spread this caring nature to everyone who came across, whether it was professionally, whether it was singing, whether being just a good friend, and we really had some good times together. And this kind of bothered me when he passed away, that he had to suffer so much, and perhaps maybe it was better to go suddenly. And this really troubled me. It bothered me. I was thinking, what's the best way? Not that we have a choice. And this summer, with the BLM movement, there was a young boy who died in New York, Brandon Hendricks. And for some reason, I found the mother's name on Facebook and became friends. We actually spoke a couple times. And died suddenly. He really was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was crossing the street. He was finishing high school. He was on the basketball team, really a good kid. And this woman's beyond herself. Every day she posts very teary and heartbreaking posts, and there's nothing really to say. There's no chance to prepare for that. And that's something that I'm thankful that, even though Alan did go through a lot of pain, and I know Tammy, many times took him to the hospital, and I took him to the hospital once and watched him on the plane and was careful with him, make sure that people look after him. There's a crazy amount of pain that he went through that we'll hopefully never go through, but that's something that's needed, and something that I thank God that we had the chance to really say our goodbyes. We had a chance to kind of, every time, the last few times that we spoke and we had lunch and we talked together, it meant something, because I knew there's a good chance it wasn't going to happen for so long, not to take things for granted. And these are some of the lessons that, unfortunately, it comes with pain, but these are some of the lessons that I took out of what happened with Alan. Last point is this interesting Gemara that talks about Rabbi Bar who talks about this interesting mashal, interesting story, whether it happened or not. It talks about this huge fish that dies, and as it's dying, it throws itself onto the shore, and it smashes 60 cities. And 60 cities from other town actually use the meat, and they eat the meat. And 60 cities from another town preserve the meat, the skins. And a year later, Rabbi Bar sees that they're starting to rebuild those 60 cities again. And the mashal, the also Ephraim, the Kliyakar says the mashal is, a tzaddik dies, what lessons do we take from it? Some people will just eat and think, you know what, the world is just for having fun because we're going to die anyway. Not the proper thing. 60 cities were destroyed because some people say, you know what, the world's not for any enjoyment because people die, and it's not the right path either. The third group of cities preserved the meat and the bones for further use. And that's kind of the approach that we're really supposed to take, is the lessons that we get from a tzaddik when he dies is to stay with us. And also Prime says he notices a year later that the 60 cities start to rebuild themselves, is that human nature is we forget. Someone passes away, we think about the Torah, the lessons that they passed to us, and the great times we had with them. And a year later, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5, 10, we forget about those things. And that's human nature. And I believe that having yahrzeit is a way to keep these lessons of the person. We think about them, they're not really gone. They're in our thoughts. Every week I try to post a Devar Torah in Alan's memory, and I try as best as I can to really think about him and the things that he stood for. I send some packages for some yeshiva kids for donuts, and some other package because I remember people send me stuff when I was in yeshiva and I was a kid. So these are some of the lessons I think that even with Corona, Alan would have been really on the forefront, is making sure people have places to go, people need help with parnasa and livelihood. And I hope that we go into Hanukkah with some of these lessons, and we don't forget about these things, is to look after people. You may have it good. The next person may not have a family. The other person may have injuries. The person may not have children, or children aren't well. And we have to think about them and try to help as best as we can. So even this Chag that we're going into tonight, which is filled with light and happiness, we really should try to think of how we can help other people and how to be sameach with people and create this Kiddush Hashem. Hanukkah Sameach.